Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Blind Spot Project. And this show where we like to talk about movies that we have never seen before that have a cult following or critical favorites or whatever it might be. And it's so much fun. And today we are putting on our teenage caps, but the very dark, cynical teenage caps. We're talking about Heathers the musical. So this is going to be fun for me because anytime I can talk about a musical is a good day on
Hmm.
my book. I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Amanda's here.
Hi, I'm so
Yes.
excited to be doing this one with you.
Yes, this is a fun one. So you had seen the movie before,
Yeah,
correct? Okay.
yeah. It's one
Uh,
of my like underappreciated favorites. Like
oh,
it's so
okay.
good. Yeah.
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 So it's kind of interesting. I had heard about the musical is one of those sort of cult favorites. It's going to be getting its second run on off Broadway. It's never made Broadway, but it's been off Broadway. And so kind of has, and I think that's like the good place for it because it has that kind of like it gives it kind of that more like edgy, raw, cult following kind of. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know. That you usually don't see things that are kind of so rough and raw and on Broadway,
You don't. And I
you
think
know.
that's why like off Broadway is something to dive into at
Yeah.
times. It's
Yeah.
like it's really fun to see what's
Yeah.
there
Like
because you
they
don't
still
expect it.
have a Little Shop of Horrors is also off Broadway,
That
and
makes
that's
sense.
done this latest run that's been for 2-3 years. It's been a while. That
Yeah.
they've had Little Shop of Horrors is also off Broadway, and it has a similar kind of, I think, feel to the
Yeah.
songs and the horror aspects and other things. And so I think it's a good place for it to be at, and it's starting actually. I didn't even we planned this. We had no idea, but yeah, June 22nd. It's starting at the New World
Love that.
stages on Broadway, and I've actually been to that stage multiple times.
Yeah.
It's where they started the a play that goes wrong that is very popular, and then also, or not started, but in New York started
Mm.
the play that goes wrong. And then they also had the I saw the Dracula comedy of horrors, I think is what it was called. I saw that there, which was really interesting because it was Dracula in all the details. Like it got every beat of the story from the book
Yeah.
right,
I
which I
love
thought
that.
I wasn't expecting for like a parody farce, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not that big into parody.
Hmm.
I often don't like it, but that was good and that was entertaining. And then I also saw Drag the musical there, because at the New World stages they can do a lot of shows because they have two stages.
Yeah. Which is
So
amazing that
yeah,
they can do it simultaneously.
yeah, and so now they're gonna I guess I don't know what this is replacing. Uh, but
Hmm.
uh, but I think they'll still have Drag the Musical, which was actually quite sweet. Like I didn't know what to
No.
expect, but it was
Yeah.
quite nice. Like I enjoyed it. And then I think, but I'm not sure. So but anyway, it'll be there. The Heather's the musical
I love
for
it.
this summer. So if you're in New York, you should take a chance to see it. But anyway, I am kind of in the unusual situation because I actually saw the musical
Hmm.
before I saw the movie. And if you're a Broadway show tunes fan, that's not that uncommon. I feel like quite frequently because so many musicals are based on movies these days.
They are. It's a
And
lot.
like I would say maybe as high as 90% of new musicals are either a jukebox musical or they're based on a movie
Yeah. And they're
or
all kind
TV
of
show.
like there's not that I want to say there's like no original stories, but
Yeah.
it's really hard to find an original Broadway musical now.
Yeah, there's some like maybe Happy Ending is an original one from the Dead Outlaw
Hmm.
original. It's actually hasn't been that bad of a season for original. There was Redwood. So they do happen, but just the vast majority are either jukebox
Yeah.
or based on a movie.
Or
Yeah.
pulled from something. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And so it's not, I don't think the experience is that uncommon if you're a musical theater fan to end up having seen the the musical version, the theater version
Oh
before seeing
yeah.
the movie,
Yeah.
you know?
It's not uncommon, like
Yeah.
whatsoever. For
But
sure.
it's uncommon for me just because I've seen so many movies, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't
It's
happen
hard
that
to like
often.
work backwards. Yeah, that's interesting.
But it
I
was
love that though.
last fall, I really was making an effort to get out of my comfort zone, which I like to do.
Mm.
And I saw Misery, an unbelievable production of Misery,
I love
uh,
that.
which it was so cool. It was in the ceramics class of the local university. So there were like two rows of chairs. The bed for the guy, I can't think of his name, but anyway, and then the actors coming in and out, and so they were like right there in your face.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. It was
That's
incredible.
amazing.
It was so good, and then both of them were so good, and so that was incredible. And then I saw this Heather's the musical at what's it's called the here, let me get it. Let me make sure I cite it right. So I saw Heather's the musical. It was Mad King's Productions, and it was at the Alliance Theater in Salt Lake. They were using that space, Mad King Productions. This was their first musical that they had ever done, and they knocked it out of the park. I was blown away. The quality of the performances, the acting, the singing, uh, was so good. Like you would
I
like
love
this
it.
is behind the Trolley Square Mall. You would
Yeah.
never in a million years believe you would see that quality of a production behind the mall
Mm.
in Salt Lake.
It's true.
It was
You
unbelievable.
honestly, even like community theater, sometimes they have like the best performances. Cause like for this,
Yeah,
I did find like watching Heather's musical through community theater,
yeah,
and I was like, wow, like some of them were like pretty good, and like the
yeah,
voices that people have that they're never like fully discovered, which is so
yeah,
sad, right? And they were phenomenal, their singing
yeah,
voices. So it's always nice to find like little gems like that,
yeah.
especially within your community.
I was so impressed with, I mean, all aspects of it. This was in a black box theater, which I don't know if you know, like black box. It's like, I mean, it literally is like a black room,
Yeah,
and then they have like bleacher stance kind of seats,
yeah,
and then you watch everything happen like right in front of you as opposed to like looking up at a stage.
yeah.
And so it was very immersive in that way as well,
I love
and
that.
just the quality of the singing and everything, it was so good, it was so good.
I love
And then I watched the movie, so that's an
it.
unusual combination. And there were some things that really surprised me about the movie. The I think in the musical, I do think that they do a little bit better job of building up Veronica's character so
Yes.
that whereas like they kind of you kind of dive in to the middle of what's happening. Like she's already friends with in the movie, she's already friends with the Heather. She's already just
Yeah.
kind of uh, she's not she's disenchanted with them. And I feel like the musical did a little bit better job of kind of being like showing her sort of get to each phase, and showing her sort of change and
Mm.
and but this, I mean, they really do start it off like pretty shocking from they're definitely trying to shock the viewer
Yeah.
immediately.
I think that's why I preferred the film
Hmm.
to the musical because for me, Heather's the musical came way after like the
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
1988
Yeah.
film. So while I was watching it, I'm like, it was very Mean Girls
Yeah.
esque at the same time. So I'm like, there was a loss of like originality because you really could have gone really like campy and dark like the film, but they strayed away from that.
Yeah.
It was a bit lighter than the film, and that's like a very like it's a dark comedy.
Yeah. That's true. I agree with
So,
that.
so I was like, why would you Mean Girls
Well,
it when it's the opposite of what Mean Girls
mm,
technically
well,
was doing?
not only is it lighter because there is more humor for sure, but
Yeah,
also they give everybody more humanity, which you could either see as a good or a bad. Like
yeah,
JD is like they give him like a backstory about what happened to his mom in the musical and like his
yeah.
feelings about his dad and in the movie he's really just like a psychopath. He's
It's a
crazy.
yeah, and like it's serviceable for what the film is, and it's nice like for the musical that they gave so much more depth to these characters, which is obviously what you need for watching like a show. You need
Yeah.
that even with the songs as well. Like they're integrated at the same time. They have to
Yeah.
have depth, or else what's the point, right? So I do get the difference in what they had to
Yeah.
change.
Well, and the musicals, I think an hour longer than the movie.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. So it's like, of
so they
course, you have
have
to
more
add stuff.
time. They have more
Yeah.
time to talk these things all out and they give way more. And again, you can see this is negative or a positive because
Mm.
they give way more humanity to the Heathers as well, to all three, even
Yeah.
because Heather Chandler in the musical, she's a ghost through the whole musical. And
Yeah.
so her perspective is kind of always there, which is funny, but also gives her more humanity because she's like present and making her snarky comments and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
which they obviously, unless they wanted to go like a Beetlejuice route or something like that,
Mm.
then they couldn't really do that in the movie. Have her be
No.
a ghost, throughout. That wouldn't, I don't know, make any sense. And it's interesting because uh I think Beetlejuice that I mentioned Beetlejuice because I think that's a big reason why Winona Ryder was cast in this movie because that
Oh,
was just the
definitely.
year before.
You could tell that she was on a hot streak.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and then even also like to have Shannon Doherty in it, like straight out of like, Beverly Hills to like
yeah,
90210. So it's like those were the hot ticket. It's just unfortunate for the other two Heathers that they didn't like have the same stardom, but everyone was like watching it for Winona. And then Christian Slater came out of left field for people because he was like the hottest ticket like
yeah,
in Heather's, like everyone like loved him. And it's just funny that who had the careers after this because
yeah,
I thought the whole thing was like pretty strong at the time.
yeah. He's the one that seems the least believable as a teenager. I don't know how old he was in this. I think
It's
it
true
says
though.
this. He feels
He
like
looks so much older and I'm like,
because Winona Ryder was 16, so she was a teenager.
she was like accurate and you could tell that she was like the youngest thing in there
Yeah.
because even Shannon Doherty, I think she was a bit older.
It's well actually so she was 17, but uh the let's see. Well, what's interesting is they said that about Shannon Doherty in the role.
Mm.
Um they said that she didn't have much of a sense of humor. She took herself a little seriously. And then another person on the set said, I don't think Shannon really got what Heather's was, and that worked for us. She made the character real.
Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
That was interesting.
That's so funny. Oh my God, how can you say that?
Yeah.
That's like that's
And
actually funny.
this movie of Heathers is written by Daniel Waters, which I thought was fascinating because he is the older brother of Mark Waters, who is a cult director and writer. And he did Hairspray, and he's did many other things. And so and what was fascinating to me is that they said that he wanted the film to be directed by Stanley Kubrick, which is, I guess it can make sense when you think about when you think of Dr. Strangelove. Like, that's definitely the darkest comedy that Kubrick did. So you're just thinking about that. And then Full Metal Jacket, like, I've never seen that, but I think it does have its moments of dark comedy in there.
I've seen clips. I've never watched the whole thing. Future blind spot, everybody. Keep it locked. We'll find others. But
I thought that was fascinating that he was going for Stanley Kubrick.
Why would he direct Heather? Like, it just, out of all those from filmography, I think this would have been the funniest placement. This would have been just hilarious if he did Heathers. It's not even up his alley whatsoever. I understand why, but like, that doesn't make sense.
And he says that not only he wanted it out of admiration for him, but also from a perception that Kubrick was the only person that could get away with a 3-hour film. So obviously he had like very big ideas at first, and then now it, because then it'd be an hour and 43. So it got trimmed down quite a bit.
Thank God for that. I couldn't watch. I like the movie, but I'm like, imagine if that was 3 hours.
So he said Heathers was an attempt for him to write of the true nature of teenagers and high school society. Now,
he wasn't wrong with a lot of it. It's just exaggerated. But
it's interesting because I really hated being a teenager, but I did hate high school.
I didn't hate high school either, but I hated being a teenager as well. I agree with that.
I hated being a teenager. I got along pretty well with most people in high school. I was kind of my main core group was the drama geeks, would have been kind of my.
I was one. Oh my God! Look at this.
Yeah. So we would have been hangs for sure, but but I had friends in a lot of different groups. I didn't feel like I had bullying experiences younger in elementary school, but I didn't have it in high school. And it's so, it's interesting, but I do remember, and this was in high school, because at church, they used to always like drill into our heads, make sure you have the right friends, And I'd be thinking to myself, like, I don't know, do I have the right friends? I have no idea. Like, choose your friends wisely. They would say these things. And I'd be like, I don't know. I think my friends are fine. Like, I don't know.
I think like even in high school, you can tell the difference.
I remember being confused. And there was a group of students, girls, that were better at school than my friends. Not that my friends were like ridiculous, they were normal, but like they were the what I saw as like the smart kids. And two of the girls from church, because we didn't have very many of us where I lived, two of the girls from church were in that group. And so hearing all these talks and speeches at church, I was like, well, I guess I need to be friends with those girls. Those are you
were thinking about it.
And so I decided for like, I don't think it was like a week or 2 weeks, I was like sitting over on their table and talking with them and whatever, and they weren't mean to me or rude or anything. They were just that's why when people say that, like, choose your friends wisely, I always am like, oh, I know, because you're just friends with the people you have chemistry with. And so I
It's
think the
true.
better advice is to say, don't let your friends influence you. Like,
That is the winner there. That's
don't,
what it is.
yeah, don't let them, like, be strong, be confident, be friends with the people you're friends with,
Yeah.
but just be aware of peer pressure, be aware of those things because
Yeah.
again, they weren't mean to me, they weren't rude, they weren't, it just wasn't, it
I
was
think
it. My friends were
it
kind of
is
like, what is she
awareness.
doing over there? Like, what?
It is awareness. I think that's what a lot of like, the other generations are kind of lacking right now. It's like social awareness of what
Yeah,
is surrounding them. And it's like you kind of don't have to be with the flock, but you can also like have a mind of your own,
yeah,
which is like, I think that's what they're losing because of social media. I
yeah,
think they're like, if it's a hive type of mindset of like, I have to look like this, I have to be like this, I have to act like this in one way because everyone else is doing it. And I think that's what's heavily
yeah.
influencing them. It's not even their friends anymore, which is like, it's so much bigger than them,
Well, the other
which
thing
is
too, though,
scary.
is I think the kids today, I sound like I'm 150, but
But
kids today, I think they,
I'm saying it too. Don't
yeah,
worry.
no,
Like,
I think that they are a lot more acclimated to these kinds of things than we were. I mean, I'm older than you, certainly than I was. That I don't know. I just find that things that would have been so shocking to me are just kind of like, no
it's
big
another
deal, no
Tuesday
big
to
deal.
them.
Like,
Yeah.
do you ever see the movie The Duff?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the movie The Duff, it's like a fine movie, and there's a scene in The Duff that her she gets they spread this rumor about her and this really mean, I think it's
Mm.
Instagram post or whatever, and it would be devastating. And the attitude of everybody in that movie is very like, it's your turn, no big deal, it happens to all of us. And I remember I have a sister that's 17 years younger than me, and so
Mm.
she was, I think, in high school right around that time, because I think it was came out like 2012, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, is that real? Like, is that how you kind of approach it? Of like, it's your turn to be socially shamed on social media. Like, you you don't even really like, you're just kind of used to it, which is sounds
Which is,
crazy, but
it's
she was like,
terrible.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Wow, that's really interesting.
It's crazy. Like
Yeah,
I've seen really bad takedowns on social media and like I was at the tail end of like I was still old enough to experience Instagram, but not to the point of like
yeah,
people shaming others. Where like when it first was created, that's when I had it. So I was posting like
yeah.
random pictures. Like my Instagram feed was like so different. And then now it's like people are using it for like manipulation tactics and stuff like that
I
amongst their
mean,
friends and like relationships, which is crazy.
when I was in high school, my best friend walked through the senior hallway with her skirt tucked into her backpack, so she was basically like mooning everybody, and and that was embarrassing, but we all kind of had a laugh, and it was, no big deal. But
Yeah.
now that would be a million times worse because it would be all over social media and archived for everyone to see.
Archived forever.
Yeah,
Everything that has been sent, screenshot, any of that stuff, like it's out there, fam. Like
yeah.
you can't take that down.
But on the same breath, I think that that because everything's out there, there's sort of a blasé to it. Like everyone's just kind of like,
There's
no
no
big deal.
shame.
Yeah,
There's nothing. It's like, oh, you did that. Cool. I did this and it's better than what you did. And like it's more so like even a competition now
yeah,
of like who can outdo the other. Whereas like back then that's like not what it was.
yeah,
There was so much more shame for everything, especially towards
yeah,
women. But like women felt more shame, and which
yeah.
we can see in
And
Heather's too. So
what's crazy about this Heather's movie, even more than the musical,
hmm.
is that it's still shocking even today. And I
Yeah.
think that I can't even imagine what it must have been like to watch this movie in 1989. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
must have been. And Roger Ebert in his review, he says that he says, I approach Heather's as a traveler in an unknown country, one who does not speak the language or know the customs and can judge the natives only by taking them at their word. The movie is a morbid comedy about peer pressure in high school, about teenage suicide, and about the deadlines of cliques. The deadliness of cliques that not only exclude but also maim and kill. Life was simpler when I was in high school.
Bless him. This is why he's the best. This is why he's the best. The way he phrased that. What a gem. Oh my
But
God.
I mean, it really, because again, they just plop you right in the middle of all this.
You're supposed to like adapt to them immediately.
Yeah. Like you could have like a whole prequel to this movie about how she became friends with these people. Like, why was she friends with them? What was going, like, none of that is there. It's just, and so I think that it still feels shocking even today.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's like everyone was shocked with Mean Girls, which I'm like, why are you shocked with Mean Girls? Mean Girls is pretty tame in comparison to what like movies of the 80s and 70s even. Like you had coming of age films like Porky's for like example, you know what I mean? And Fast Times at Ridgemont High, those like that stuff wasn't tame back then, right? So it was just interesting to like scandalized by Mean Girls where like you have something like Heathers, which pushes the boundaries. Like it's crazy. Everything that's incorporated in Heathers is considered like taboo realistically.
Maybe because they can put Heathers in like the horror box. Put it over here. Oh, well, that's a horror movie.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you think about some of those coming of age movies of the 80s, they could be very, very cynical. And so it's fascinating. But that helps, I think, this movie though hold up quite well because it still has that shock value.
Yeah, and people like go back to it. It is a cult classic. It is a cult classic because there's so many like unique callbacks. Like I remember like Winona Ryder's head in the ground.
Yeah, and so that's like, what our first scene is, this dream scene. You don't even know it's a dream scene, and then we see the Heathers playing croquet, and then and then her head is in the ground. Like
it's just fun and it's ballsy, it's off the wall. It's something that like everyone can resonate with but still have fun and laugh at the absurdity of it all. And I think to do that for a coming of age film is just, it's so unique. And I also like the costume designer. Beautiful. That wardrobe, absolutely stunning, like across the board, which no one does that now. Do you see the costumes that we have to like look at now?
It's true.
Like jeans and a top. Oh, wonderful. Good job, guys. You couldn't be more inventive with it. Like, let's have fun again. Like, please. Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but making the costume an iconic part of the storytelling. Yes. Like the red scrunchie and the color, like it's actually like important to the story.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. Yeah. It's like, of course, like even in like Clueless, if we can look at that, like those costumes were iconic for Cher, and like it's a staple now. It's a Halloween costume. People will go for like with Heathers as well. Like you know what it is, and I think that we're just losing a sense of like, I don't even know, like just uniqueness. I think that's what like they're not paying close attention. It's not as detailed anymore because they're just flushing things out so quickly. It's like you're not taking the time to actually focus on these characters because everyone's in t-shirt and jeans. They don't want t-shirt and jeans. I want cute skirts and stockings and like come on, big hair, like do something.
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, the closest we get is like, say, Dear Evan Hansen with his polo shirt, you know, like something like that, you know, like we get that. But what's interesting too, and I read a whole article about this other day that if you look at stuff that was made like 20 years ago, like it feels kind of relatively the same as far as fashion goes. Like there's little differences, but like if you look at the difference between something made in the 70s and the 90s, it's like completely different versus like something made in 2004 versus 2024.
You can literally just jumble
on a costume
the 2000. It's true. Like you can jumble the 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even remember what came out when sometimes. And I have to Google it. I'm like, this came out 10 years ago. It looks like it came out last year. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
true.
weird. It's so weird how, like, there's no stylistic choices
Uh-huh.
in the 2000s or the 2010s. And now
Yeah.
the 2020s, like, there's nothing that sets it apart whatsoever from like
Yeah.
the 90s or like they had such distinct fashion choices. And here we are barely caring anymore.
Yeah. Well, it did make me think though. Do you think if they either did a movie version of Heather's the Musical
Mhm.
or they did just a general remake, do you think that they would just have to keep it set in the 1980s or could they I feel like you'd have to
You have
because
to.
like I don't know, just things like school shootings and stuff like that. Like it would just be really hard to keep the same tone, I think, if it wasn't set
It,
in the 80s.
you have to do a period based on like what they incorporate here. You have to.
Yeah.
Because even like the dream sequences and like how they murder everyone, like
Well,
it has
yeah,
to
and
be
like he wouldn't
done.
be able to set up all of the explosives in the basement and
Not
stuff
now.
now.
Not with technology.
Well, yeah, technology and also just there's I think most high schools these days have security and
Yeah.
things like that. So I don't know, it would just I feel like it would just get so much more complicated.
It would, and I don't think it would have the same essence and style
Yeah.
as the 80s. Like
Yeah.
there's different things that you can do. I just hope they never remake this. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't
I
want them to touch it.
I kind of slightly want them to do the musical because I
Really?
really do love
The
the
musical fair.
yeah,
That's
if they
fair.
did a Heather's the movie, the musical, that or Heather's the musical, the movie,
Hmm.
but I think you would again have to set it in the 80s. I just can't imagine it working in a modern setting.
It still can work in a modern setting, but because the musical's so different, and I would touch the musical more than the movie.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know
and
why. I just think it's such
yeah,
like an iconic film. It's like remaking Clueless. What do you like? Don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't remake
yeah,
Clueless. It's hard
no,
to do that because even with Winona and Shannon Doherty, like those are the big guns there, and Christian Slater, like those are iconic roles, like for cult classic. So I wouldn't touch
yeah.
it. So
Yeah, like if you were gonna I mean, just don't remake Clueless, just make a new version of Emma. Like
yeah,
you don't need to remake Clueless. Yeah.
no, we
No.
don't.
Because that's so steeped in the 90s that
See, you would have
yeah.
to keep it in the night. Like that's something that's so
Yeah.
crazy. Like Mean Girls can be touched because
And even that
realistic
wasn't that good. And it was the musical.
and
It
yeah,
wasn't. I mean, it was I didn't hate
I
it.
didn't
It was
I didn't
okay,
love
but it
it.
wasn't great. No, it wasn't
It
great. That's
wasn't
for sure.
great, but it's also like you can touch Mean Girls because the
Also,
2000s. But
Mean Girls, the musical, the movie, they cut 14 songs.
you could tell they couldn't thread that together. It was so choppy. I'm like, you guys
Yeah.
did not know how to like put this to screen whatsoever, and this is why you don't touch
Yeah.
it the reverse way.
So
You just don't do it.
they introduce JD in this cafeteria scene.
Mm.
He's like definitely got kind of a James Dean appeal. He's leaning back. He's like cool guy kind of a thing. And then they have him pull a gun
It's so
on these guys, the jock guys. And again, he is very much just your psychopath from the very beginning. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Harpeth Road and Lindsay Gibson and her new book, Where It All Began. Still reeling from the shock of her ex-fiance leaving her at the altar, Willow Anderson flees to Martha's Vineyard after almost a decade away, forcing her to confront everything she's left behind. Her father suffered from a horrible fall off a horse at their family farm, and Willow has to return to the scene of a traumatic accident from her youth. Just as she begins to navigate taking care of her father's farm, her first love, Grayson Turner, walks back into her life, and he's got a secret that could change everything. I really enjoyed this book. I think if you like a good love triangle, it has a really good love triangle. It kind of reminded me a little bit of The Summer I Turned Pretty, like a little bit older version of The Summer I Turned Pretty. But a very spirited, passionate dynamic. I think it'll make a great summertime read, so you should definitely check it out. And you can purchase it wherever you purchase your books or use the affiliate link below. Make sure to grab your copy today. That is Where It All Began by Lindsay Gibson. I know you'll love it. Which I think is interesting, and it makes it more of like a horror movie. Because horror movie has like, a crazy person who's out to like a psychopath. Like that's more at home in a horror movie.
And you don't know what his next move is going to be. He's a wild card. So obviously that's fun. But that's also why I love that introduction, because Winona Ryder, Veronica's like completely done with everyone in that school.
Yeah.
And you can tell that she's done. And she's like, wow, he's different. He's new. He's cool. Like he's on my level type of thing. And she's instantly drawn to him. And I think that plopping like the audience right in the middle of like her being so cynical and then her disliking who she's with and knowing that they're not good people, you know what I mean? So it's like you're already on her side immediately.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that the musical kind of tones down a little bit is sort of the sexual assault themes of the movie. I mean, it's still there, particularly with Kurt and Ram in the musical, but definitely, I mean, it's way, way stronger in this movie. And basically, like, what they like this beginning, this party at the school, at the college that they have, so Heather Chandler is forced to do things she doesn't want to do. And then Veronica, she pukes on Heather Chandler, and Heather Chandler says she's going to ruin her reputation. And it's just pretty dark stuff. Like, because Heather Chandler has basically been raped at this party. It's pretty dark stuff.
It is. And I think there's a way to handle it in film. This one is heavy-handed, but again, like there are consequences that come with the actions too.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't like is seen party. And then I felt like they over-edited JD and Veronica's first time together, because that just seemed to happen so fast and kind of out of nowhere. And I'm like, I think the musical actually does a better job of kind of building up to that moment. I found that too. Yeah. That it feels more sort of believable, and you're getting that chemistry. And I don't know. I just think that that was better handled, because I was just like, oh my gosh, they're naked. Holy cow. What about? Like, it happened so fast.
It does. And I think, to your point, Rachel, I think they had to pivot. There's only a certain amount of things that you can show. And I think that's why, in order to balance what they did show, they had to actually show like a romantic, like loving, like sex scene that way to counter what they were discussing previously. Because again, it's like the 80s as well. So it depends how much you can actually show and like discuss.
Well, and Dead Girl Walking is like such a good song in the musical. Like that's the song when they're intimate. And it's such a good song. And so that I think that in general, I would say, I think JD and Veronica's relationship is better handled in the musical.
You had more time with them.
That's time with them, and you build up both their characters more.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's handled better. I think that the Heather's stuff and the Click stuff and some of that dynamic is probably handled better in the movie.
I agree with that. I think that in the musical, they were kind of annoying, but they also, and more so in the musical, they were more annoying than, because I would just want them to be evil, like just be bad. Like, let's just do it at that point. You're going all in, like, don't try to, like, give them the humanity. Like, I know that, again, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Like, you either like it or you don't, or it's good or it's bad. And I think that in order to get the point across with the way, like, the plot is designed, I do think that it was better handled there. I didn't like their songs.
Oh, yeah. I like some of them. I like some of them. Like, I like Candy Store. And uh, yeah, Big
It
Fun
was
is kind of
it,
good, but it's
fine.
true. Like it's a little bit of a mixed bag. The signs.
Because it's not, I
Um,
feel like Heathers the musical is not so much about the Heathers. It was more
yeah,
so about, even though the film is more about Veronica as well, but it's like they were integrated more and like affecting her life. Whereas with the Heathers, it's obviously like Veronica's the star of that musical and it's
yeah.
about
They
her.
try to give Heather McNamara a little bit more. Like in the movie, they show her she's almost committing suicide eating the
Mm,
pills, but then they they do a little bit. They try to give her a little bit more of an arc. In in this one, then they I mean they try to give her a little more of an arc in the musical
yeah.
than they do in the movie. And
Yeah.
Heather Duke, I mean, in both of them, she's just like, she is the true monster. She is the opportunist, the one that's really was, I don't know, just she's really bad. She's Shannon Doherty in the movie, and
Yeah.
then, uh, but she is just ready to like use any opportunity she can to take power. And so it is kind of sweet at the end when Veronica goes in and gets the scrunchie off of Heather Duke. It says, I'm in power now. Like it's a good moment in both.
Yeah. It definitely is.
Yeah.
I love that. I just
Which,
love Shannon Doherty.
well, I mean, and that's why it makes sense when they say that I don't think Shannon really got what Heather's was, and that worked for us. She made the character real. So if
Yeah.
you're going to have such a duplicitous character, making her a little bit making having the actress be kind of unaware of what was like, I feel like that makes sense in a way. Like it would kind of ground it in an authentic reaction.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
She did her job. She did
Yeah.
her job
Hmm.
because she was so good in it.
Yeah. So then they end up going, oh, they're trying to get revenge on Heather Chandler, and they go over there, JD and Veronica, and JD ends up making a thing of like a hangover cure, but he puts drain cleaner in, and then Veronica has another cup with the same thing. Anyway, they end up getting switched purposely by JD,
Yeah.
and so Veronica ends up giving Heather the thing, and then they write the suicide note. And part of the part of the idea that this film is talking about is that then with the suicide note, she becomes kind of a hero, and the way that they end up getting treated and how we treat people like that, that's like, well, we don't value them when they're here, but then we romanticize them when they've gone.
Yeah. Because
And
every like they were covering the whole media was covering it everywhere.
yeah,
Like it just blew up at that point. It's true.
yeah. So then Kurt and Ram, these jock jerk guys, they go on a double date with McNamara and Veronica,
Mm.
and they assault McNamara, and then they also spread a rumor that about Veronica,
Yeah.
that basically, yeah, she
I mean, that's typical. That's just typical.
yeah, I mean, it must have
Real
been pretty shocking though for a film about teenagers to be so open about
that stuff.
that stuff.
That stuff. It's
Yes.
true. It's true
Yeah.
because they're always like, oh, they romanticize, like certain things and like
Yeah.
I guess boys being assertive and do like they've romanticized certain things that can be also perceived as something else. I'm watching my
Yeah.
words carefully. Like
Yes. Yeah.
perceived as something else and it's like no, let's like call
Yeah.
a spade. And now and this is the type of film that can actually go the extra mile in showing that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
But now also though, I kind of wonder in the age of like the age of shows like Euphoria and things like that, like would being accused of giving somebody like a BJ, like would that even be a thing? Like would anybody even care
Oh no,
in
it's a
high
random
school today?
Tuesday. It's a random Tuesday. Like that's that's the thing. It's like, oh, okay. Like even when I was in high school, that stuff was still shocking. It's like, well,
Yeah,
so and so did this. Like, what do you mean?
right.
Like that's it should be like that. I'm
I
sorry. Like it's just
agree.
no, not that we're shaming. It's not shaming. It's more so like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's not shame. It's
Like
like,
it
wow, they
shouldn't.
did that. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
like it should be kind of a big deal when you decide to
You're
participate in those activities. Like it
But
should
like
be.
you're 15, fam. Like that
Yeah.
shouldn't be like what I was coloring 2 years ago. And
Yeah,
like, you know what I
exactly.
mean? Like you're 15. Like, what do you
Yes.
know? Like
Yeah.
it's just it's weird. It's weird that it's not it's like so
Yeah.
normalized and decent. Like it's just it's so weird now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So they end up, so she's very angry, as you would be, of course, at Kurt and Ram.
Yeah.
And so JD kind of pushes her that they should be the next victims, but he tricks her because he says, "Oh, this is just um, it's like it'll just knock them out. These bullets, they're not real. It's like fake. What I forget the word he uses. This like this. It's
They're
just gonna knock them
blockers.
out. Yeah, is that the word?
Yeah.
And so then in the movie, she misses, and then I forget if it was Kurt or Kurt
Yeah.
runs, and so then they run after him. JD runs after him, and then Veronica and kills Kurt. And so yeah, and then they have this whole letter that they leave behind about how they were lovers and that they couldn't be who they wanted to be, and this is sort of Veronica and JD's way of kind of the ultimate jocks, like having them die being martyrs of gay lovers, that's sort of, they feel like that's a punishment in a way for because
Yeah.
they were such jerks. And so she's upset because she didn't want to kill them. She's
Mm-hmm.
upset with JD, but up until now I think she still is somewhat rationalizing, and definitely in the musical because they have a whole uh a whole reprise of dead they have a whole reprise of Dead Girl Walking
Mm.
in the musical, and there's definitely a sense of like there she still loves JD, and they're like he's just more of a psychopath in the movie,
In the movie, yeah.
and she realizes that a lot sooner than she does
Yeah.
in the musical.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like how long should it have taken you to figure out like
Yeah,
like realistically,
yeah,
just his vibe is completely off the
yeah.
entire time and she doesn't care. But like you're blatantly seeing it in the movie.
Well, so at the funeral, one of the dads says, "I love my dead gay son." And in the musical, they turn that into a whole song. I love my dead gay son. And they
Mm.
have the two of the dads admit their love for each other. And and I can understand why they did that, because I think that having, I think that they probably were somewhat worried that here you have these two characters getting killed by our leads and being set up as sort of a gay, um,
Yeah.
you know, like being set up as this sort of gay teaching tool. So I can understand why they felt like, oh, well, we need to show some like obvious positive representation that we're like
Yeah.
supportive, that we're not. Um, so it's fine. It's fine. I don't, I,
Eh,
but it's
Yeah.
definitely darker and a lot more sort of twisted to the way they do in the movie.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
She laughs when the
Like at the
dad even
funeral.
says
Yeah.
it. Yeah, at the funeral. So it's like it's a dark comedy.
Yeah.
Point blank. Like you have to literally like leave everything at the door before you watch this, and like,
because
you
they're
know,
trying
some
to
of it.
show how ridiculous it is to turn this into this inspirational moment, whereas like the musical, they kind of just lean into, oh, we're gonna make it an inspirational moment, we're gonna
I
have these
think
people come out.
that's the thing. Like, that was my peeve. It's like, no, like, this is bleak. Like, this is how people think. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like they're really showing, and it's an exaggerated version of how people think of like everything at that point. Like, because what's in
Yeah.
here, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not right whatsoever, but it's not
Like that's
supposed to
part of
be.
this. Yeah, that's part of the satire of it.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
It's not supposed to be. It's like, you know how absurd people can have, like, their mindset is going into this, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then it helps fuel that whole thing of this media thing and that's getting out of control. And when JD says chaos is great, chaos is what killed the dinosaurs. Which is pretty good.
he's so funny.
Yeah.
Such a good character.
And this is like the peak chaos for Heather Duke when she is like taking over control of the Heathers. She's on all of the news, getting interviewed and everything like that. And then they have this fight, Veronica and JD, and JD shoots the TV in, and she's like, you can go shoot out your TV at your own house. But it becomes clear that he is like an incredibly violent human being.
Massively violent. I'm like, only a psychopath can think of all of this stuff. Like, there's no way.
And so then JD basically manipulates Heather Duke to get everybody to sign this petition. And he's going to use that petition in order to he's going to use that petition as basically like a mass suicide note, because he has this plan, because his dad is a building destructor. I don't know what you call those people, but they making the buildings fall, exploding. And so he has access to all these explosives. And so he gets this idea, and that he's going to basically try to stage it as this like mass suicide with this petition, which is, so crazy. And then we forgot to say, so one of the other changes that the musical makes is they combine characters of Martha and Betty. And there's Martha is kind of this awkward, shy girl. And they give her a lot to do, because they've combined her with this girl Betty, who they play this prank on about getting this letter from one of the guys. And so they do give Martha a really good, they give her some good stuff in the musical.
They do.
And when she's singing Kindergarten Boyfriend and 17, and some of these moments in the musical, she walks in the movie, she walks into traffic, she almost dies.
Big difference.
And in both of them, she walks. She
Yeah.
tries to commit suicide. She walks into traffic.
Yeah.
And so that's something interesting that they do with her. But she doesn't have any. Does she have any dialogue in the movie? Not much. Martha.
Not much.
Not much.
I'm happy that they did combine characters though, or else they would have to like write way more for Martha. In the show. So I'm happy that they did that.
Yeah.
Because I think even for Veronica, like she had a friend on the outside. And I'm happy that they showed that in the musical more so. And that again, like you see her her humanity as well with Martha as that friendship, right? So you needed that crutch, whereas like the movie didn't really have that until the end, kind of.
Yeah, at the very end, she's like, "Hey, let's go watch some movies or whatever. Let's hang out with Martha." And we haven't established they had any really relationship, unlike in the musical that they do.
Yeah, so they're both very different, but I do like some of the changes made in the musical, but I do prefer the film to the musical just because it's like you're really harnessing this uniqueness for a Black comedy and really pushing boundaries, whereas they sugarcoated a lot of things in the musical. But it is great in its own right. If it wasn't called Heathers the Musical, would have been completely different, but you're not essentially getting the essence of what the film was when you're watching it.
Yeah. I mean, it like I said, it is nice that they give Martha her own song with Kindergarten Boyfriend. But it does feel like maybe it feels like a pretty it feels like a pretty crowded musical. There's a lot of characters happening here. And so they might wanted to focus maybe some of that energy on just one of the other characters, and maybe made Heather McNamara made her more likable, or maybe I don't know what you do. It's tricky, but it's so much longer, so you have more room to. But yeah, so that's the biggest change that they make, combining Betty Finn and Martha, and giving Martha a actual voice and a song and everything. And I agree with you. I think that's pretty effective that they do that. So then we have this whole thing with Heather McNamara where she calls a radio show to talk about depression. And at first she can't decide what name she's going to give. And she ends up, I think, is it Tweety Bird or something like that she calls. And then you have Veronica stopping McNamara from ODing. And that's definitely, a moment again to show some humanity, because they haven't really done much of that.
No. In this, I think it's just like maybe she knows that she can stop something from happening versus JD overpowering her in certain cases. So that was entirely her decision. And I think that's the big difference between the two of them that you can see. So that needed to be there.
Yeah. In the musical, she has a really good song called Lifeboat, which I really like. The McNamara has. That
was a good one.
Very good song. Yeah. And so then we have this whole thing with Veronica faking her suicide by hanging. And I'm like, how do you fake that? Wouldn't it?
You would kind of,
I guess, loose enough or something, and so she could.
Maybe.
But I don't know how it would hang her. I was, but that's what they do in both of them. They both fake it, and she tricks JD into thinking that she's been suicide. But I really felt bad for her mom. So her mom comes in. And especially in the musical, she's as you would, of course, that happened, and you'd be very upset to find your daughter, of course. And in the movie, she says, when she sees that she thinks her daughter is dead, she says, "I'm so sorry I didn't let you take that job in the mall."
It's so funny. It's like, you could have been working and stable and not with the psycho right now.
She's like, see, I'm not dead, Mom. It's crazy.
I'm kidding. Sorry.
And
So
then
funny.
we have this whole scene in the boiler room happening where he's going to blow up the school just like his dad does. And uh, they're able, he ends up disconnecting the wires
Yeah.
and then going out, and he basically ends up blowing up just himself. And yeah.
Sorry, but like claps because the guy was psychotic. Like
He really was. Yeah. I think the ending
oh.
works better in the movie than the musical.
Yeah, because the musical again, like it's very like kumbaya-ish by the
Yeah,
end of
because
it, and it's like that's not the point of this show,
yeah,
shouldn't have
because
been.
they have him sing "I Am Damaged," and they're still like it's just more. I think it's better. Like at this point, he's been evil enough that it's okay. We don't need him to have like redemption in the final
No,
scene.
no.
And then we get her coming after the bomb. We get her coming. She's all, covered, and she takes the scrunchie from uh uh she
Oh,
takes the
God.
scrunchie from Heather, and she's the new Heather Chandler. She's the new head of things. And then she goes to Martha and says, "Let's hang out. Let's watch movies."
It's a fun
So
ending. I think the movie
yeah.
does it well. I remember going into it the first time, I literally thought it was going to be like a Mean Girls. Because Shannon Doherty was in it. I'm
Oh,
like, oh, she's going to be the meanest one and like whatever. And then I watched it. I'm like, this is nothing like I had imagined. What am I watching right now? So it was very,
yeah. I mean, they
very like,
are
whoa.
they're definitely Mean Girls, but
They're the
uh,
plastics.
they're definitely the plastics, but it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference, is it just takes it to sort of a darker place. And you
Yeah.
did have like more, I'm not sure when, but you had other high school horror movies like Carrie and Prom Night and
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, about these teenagers getting murdered and stuff like that. So it wouldn't have been completely unheard of for a movie like
No.
that. By the time 1989 came around, you had had a lot of Friday the
So
13th.
many slashers. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, Carrie, Prom Night, different movies like that. So
Mm.
but this has like an artistry. I haven't seen a lot of those movies, so what do I know? But like this I think has an artistry. It's
Definitely.
interesting in ways, like it's a little bit ambivalent to, like, I always appreciated movies where they don't feel a need to tell you every single thing about a character. They leave some things like a bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
And that is something that's better about the movie than the musical, because the musical is just longer, and so they have to dive in to these characters more, and in a way that's good, but also in a way I kind of appreciate the
Like
mystery and the filmmaking of what's happening in the movie.
it's more so like to the point, and
Yeah,
sometimes you can't really expand upon a character. It's one
yeah,
dimensional. So I think that's why Heather's works is like these are the three Heathers. There's really nothing to them other than they are mean.
right,
And now
right,
Veronica has the complexity. JD has the complexity, but you still don't know enough about him as to why he's a psychopath.
yeah,
So it's just like, let's throw them together and see what happens. And
yeah,
like, then that's the movie. So it makes sense. Whereas with Heather's the musical, they tried so hard to make something more
yeah.
of what it actually is. And that's why I found it like a bit too messy for
I can
me.
see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
I've only seen it the one time, but in the pro shot. But
Mm.
I really was very impressed with the quality of the music, that it
Hmm.
felt fresh and exciting, something new. And again, I hadn't
Yeah.
seen the movie at that point. So I
Yeah.
I do really enjoy it. And I think that Lawrence O'Keefe, I think he is such an underrated composer on Broadway. I recently saw his musical Bat Boy, and I had no expectations, and it was so good. I loved it. Salt Lake Acting Company, incredible production. And of course, he did Legally Blonde the musical, which I love and
Wow.
adore. And so he is really good. Like, I mean, just those three alone, like
It's pretty good, actually.
he should be a name brand, I feel like, at this point. Like, I feel like he's
Yeah.
I feel like he's very underrated. I mean, there's others that are name brands like Jason Robert Brown. Obviously, someone like an Andrew Lloyd Webber is like a different thing, but
Naturally.
but I think because, except for Legally Blonde, his musicals have mostly been off Broadway. But you could say the same thing about Jason Robert Brown. So I don't know why I just feel like he's super underrated, and he's manages to make really catchy songs, very entertaining. Because even though it has its flaws, I still think it's very entertaining. And
Yeah.
and so I think that he's just I just think he's very underrated, underappreciated. He did the music and lyrics and the book for this with Kevin Murphy's the collaborator's name, who also did music, lyrics, and book. And I don't know, I think the Bat Boy and I think the Bat Boy and Legally Blonde are so good, and I think this is also quite good. So yeah, I'm a big Lawrence O'Keefe fan.
I love it.
And it'll be interesting to see if because every time that they have brought it back, whether it was for the West End or for off Broadway, they keep changing this musical, little bits, little things. They've added songs, taken songs away. So it'll be interesting to see in this new production if there's any differences, if there's anything new. I'll be very curious about it. But I think it's a very interesting movie from 1989. I'm glad I saw it. I liked it. It's very unique, I would say.
Very unique.
Yes.
One of my faves.
Yeah. And then the musical, I think, is also very unique and very cool and very special. So that was a lot of fun to talk about. Let us know what you think about the musical, if you've seen it. What do you think about the movie? Is it a favorite of yours? Cult classic? Love to hear in the comments section. And I forgot to check. Just one sec. What we're doing next? Just 1 second.
I know what we're doing next, and I'm very excited for what we're doing.
What are we doing next?
I think it is. I think it's Rush because of F1, or it's the Birdcage.
Yes,
it's one of them. Is it Rush?
We're doing Rush for June.
Yeah.
And
it's the Birdcage that I'm more excited about, not Rush. Just want to clarify.
I love Birdcage. But yeah, so we're doing Rush by Ron Howard. That was just one that I just missed. I don't know why I missed it.
Same.
But I'm excited to see it. And the new movie F1. What's that come out, F1?
25th, 8th, 5th, somewhere. 25th? End of June is all I know. 28th?
June 25th. Okay, that'll be perfect. That'll be perfect. So we'll talk about Rush and we'll talk about F1. Woo-hoo. And that will be fun. So yeah, let us know what you think about Heathers and Heathers the Musical in the comment section or on Twitter, and I'll have my review up as well. And Manda, where can people find you?
You guys can always follow me over at AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Blue Sky, and you can check out my Instagram at Amanda Guaraji, and you can check out my website, candidxcinema.com.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also check out the Hallmarkies podcast, and you can check out On Stage blog. I do a podcast for them where I talk all things musical theater and theater. And so that's really fun. So if you like theater, make sure you check out over there. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Would really appreciate that. And we have the Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support everything that we do. And we have really cool perks, like we have Q&As. We have writer Zach Hug as our guest for this month. He's done a bunch of Hallmark movies that are really fun. So definitely sign up, and you get to see the behind the scenes of how movies get made. It's really cool. I think it's a super cool perk. I try to make it as worth your while as I can for the Patreon. I give bonus episodes. I give early episodes ad-free. So please check it out. And then we have the merch store where we have tons of fun, cool designs. So check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.